hear me?
Okay, we're ready. Let me go for that.
Yes.
Okay, we've got our recording going, so we're gonna go ahead and start our special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. It is December 10th, 2025, and it's 2:30. And this is a special meeting just for our legislative agenda. I appreciate all the legislators that are here. I'm gonna let Mike Burgess, our state lobbyist, go ahead and take over, and then we'll do introductions. Mike, I'll have you kind of help lead the meeting.
Okay, Commissioner, happy to do that. Thank you for everyone attending. Legislators, appreciate your time. We'll get through a pretty quick list here, or hopefully get through this list relatively quickly in respect of your time. There'll be some broad things, like kind of, when I say broad, I mean kind of county-wide, like all counties would care about it, and just within regular county function. And then there'll be some other items that are more specific to the county, from just a divisional labor standpoint. I'll probably do the broader things, and Jeff McMorris will cover the more local. Please interrupt if you have any questions. And Commissioner Kinney, you mentioned introductions. I'm not sure how you want to handle that part. If you want to go around the room in there, and then those online could do it too.
Yes, well, why don't we start with, we'll go ahead and go around the room. So Ron, I'm gonna have you start just so everyone sees.
Ron Valencia, Spokane County Commissioner Kearns' office.
Josh Kearns, Spokane County Commissioner.
Al French, County Commissioner.
Amber Waldron, County Commissioner.
Chris Jordan, also County Commissioner.
Matt Folsom, County Legal.
Jeff McMorris, County Staff.
Rob Chase, 4th District, Spokane Valley. Mike Volz, 6th District.
Mary Cuny, the 5th of the 5 county commissioners here.
Suzanne Schmidt, 4th District Legislator.
Mary Dye, 9th District Legislator.
And has the longest commute. Longest drive to this.
Yes, thank you for being here.
So let's go online, and I'm gonna have one person start and then just say another person that you know needs to be introduced for the next. So let's Mike, why don't you go ahead and start with yourself?
Yeah, Mike Burgess, County Lobbyist.
And do you want to send it up to
Oh,
somebody?
excuse me. Representative Graham. Oh,
She's
she may
frozen.
be-
Yeah, she looks.
yeah, looks like she's frozen. I'll go with Senator Schessler then.
Mark Schessler, 9th District.
Okay.
Maybe you should just keep it.
Yeah.
You might want to.
Senator
Can you hear
Riccelli.
me?
Oh, yes. Representative Graham, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jenny Graham, Spokane 6th District.
Senator Riccelli.
Frozen.
Oh, he's
He's
frozen
frozen,
too.
yeah.
Representative Ortsby.
Oh, where'd Kelly just?
And he's muted.
We're having all kinds of fun on the internet today.
Hi, Marcus Riccelli, States District. Present.
Tim Ormsby, House, 3rd District.
Okay, I think that takes care of all our representatives that we have and senators online. The rest of the people online that are not showing their faces are county leadership. So thank you for joining us also. And then I will then turn it back over to Mike Burgess.
Sure. And then Ron, are you going to share a screen so everyone can see the agenda as we speak to it? Okay, super. Thank you. So just for the legislators' benefit, this is obviously it's an agenda for 2026. There's a lot of carry forward items that would have been on the list last year and even in previous sessions. So I'm just going to run through these items. And then, like I said, maybe I'll stop when we get kind of through a section and ask for questions. And then Jeff, just be ready if I'm going to punt to you. The first item on there is public defense. That's as I mentioned, that's a broad issue for counties in general, dealing with caseload standards. And then, in some ways, indigent defense is a part of this as well. These are state issues and in our view, state requirements that are being passed down along to the county that are very costly. That $15 million number is a Spokane County number. But you would have obviously an exponentially large number when you get to, on a statewide order of magnitude. So that's obviously more of on an operating side. The next item there is Spokane Regional Sobering Center. Jeff, I'll let you go to that, but that is a capital budget request.
So that's one, the state legislature did do some funding for the building last year. The feds had 3 million in their budget. The continuing resolution at the federal level made it where that earmark didn't last. They don't stay in with that. So this is kind of a closing gap, hoping we are in the budget again at the federal level, but there could be another CR at the federal level, who knows? So it is a second bite at the apple, trying to close the gap to finish that off. Is the expansion of our current stabilization center. I think most people are familiar with the project itself.
See who raised their hand.
It's Mark Schessler.
Okay, Senator Schessler, I see you raise your hand.
What legislative district is the sobering center in?
That'd be the third. It's right by the county campus, a couple blocks away.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Jeff, should I move on to the next there? The next.
What was the total? That was it 3 million that was received last year, or what was the total again?
3 million last year. The project total 14-15 million all in. We've used a lot of opioid funds from the state opioid settlement, and mental health dollars have been the largest revenue contributions to it.
Okay, the next item there is a Superior Court judge. You see those bills all the time. It's time for Spokane to make an addition there. And then the next, so again, operating side there. And then the next one, the Bellevue Water District, Jeff, that's a local capital project.
It is. This one's right on the line between Commissioner French and Commissioner Jordan. So kind of up in the 5 mile neighborhood. I assume that'd be 6 Ledge. And it is a smaller HOA, big lots, probably acre lots, give or take. I think it's 30 to 40 homes. The system is failing, quite expensive per homeowner. They've been seeking help for quite a while. The city will annex the water district, so the future would be covered through a city agreement with the HOA. The HOA is trying to get funding to bring it up to snuff, so the city would take it over. Anything to add, commissioners?
Give the keys. Been involved in that.
I think our 6th district reps know this one well.
Yes.
Okay.
Your commissioners know it.
And then Jeff, it probably makes sense for you to do Nova Hilliard and then the 3 transportation projects too.
Nova's in the Hilliard area. This is a revitalization project. I believe it's mostly commercial. Is there housing in it?
I don't
So
think that's daycare.
So it's kind of a multi-housing, probably ground floor commercial as well as daycare in a very diverse neighborhood. We've been working on this for quite some time. We've almost made the budget a couple times on this one, but it's never made the final. And so this is a $3.5 million request.
Is that the one with the extended hour daycare?
Correct.
Yeah, that all the employers out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have a lot of people who work different shifts, not your
Yes.
traditional 9 to 5 jobs.
I remember the name of the.
Publishers Deer
Yes,
Jubilant.
yeah, those are the two that I.
And then the 3 transportation, the Thorpe Road Fairchild. So that's the north-south that connects from I-90 to Highway 2. It goes just along the east side of Fairchild. And so Thorpe is the little dogleg that goes off of the Craig Road corridor to the second gate that is there. But right now it's just, for a few people to use now and again. This would actually be opening a second gate. Last I heard, it would not be public access, but anybody who works or lives on Fairchild. So it'd be significant access there, much easier access to I-90. So Airway Heights is a big proponent of this also, to reduce anybody who's ever driven through Airway Heights at a base shift time. You realize you're there at base shift time. We've had a couple earmarks over the last 5 years out of Congress towards this. I believe it's the 4.5 and a 4, or 4.5 and a 5.
4.5 and a 5.
So $8.5 million congressional earmarks. That's back in the days of when Kathy was there. Congressional Congressman Baumgardner has let us know this will probably be his top ask from his office for the Spokane area this coming year. To help with Fairchild and everything going on there. So this is kind of to close the gap again. The county will be in several million also. That most of the federal grants have 20 or 25% match requirements. So we're looking at 2 to 3, maybe up to $4 million in matching requirements. The next one, the Glen Rose corridor, that's going to be more, I think it's still all be in the 3rd,
No,
but it's
in the
gonna.
ninth.
The 9.
It's in the ninth.
It is in the
Okay,
9th
that's
now?
what I
Okay.
thought, yeah.
It's
I
outside.
was gonna say it's gonna get to the 9th. So it's all in the 9th. I think a lot of people in the 3rd would also use it. It's just inside the 9th from the 3rd. So that's going from I-90 south, kind of along the dense area of the South Hill. It's still a little more country there. Becoming urban, suburban. A lot of people use that corridor. So it's a safety thing as well as moving more people. And then Argonne Upriver Drive, anybody who's driven Argonne, the intersection there by the Spokesman paper plant, just across from Millwood. That I've seen on list of one of the most congested intersections in the state. We've also had some asks in over the years at the Senate level in DC. Especially because there is the link to the Centennial Trail there, which is of interest to both Patty and Maria Cantwell at the Senate levels. But it's you're talking a $20-30 million fix. It can be done in phases at some level. So this is one of the first phases there.
So we're gonna talk about another north-south corridor for years and decades.
Our grandkids will be dead for that. So those are the 3 transportation. Any questions, comments?
And the second one, that's not in the 9th district, that's inside the city, isn't it?
It would start in the city, but it's gonna quickly leave city limits and be in the 9th. Now that the 9th comes up to all the city limits on the south.
Well, but if it stops at the city limits, it's not in the 9th.
It is, as soon as you leave the city of Spokane Valley, you're in the 9th.
Yeah, the Glen Rose corridor itself is in the 9th district.
Okay, I'm thinking of more of the South Hill.
Yeah, 57th is.
Yeah, 57th is kind of the dividing line between the city and the county. And so south of 57th is the county, north is the city. But then as you follow Glen Rose is in the county.
It's an unincorporated dog leg that kind of comes up a bit farther north, which is part of the 9th now, since the last redistricting.
I think it's been both.
So, and kind of I would say the west side of Glen Rose is going to be more city, and then the east side is all the 9th.
Okay, Commissioner Key, should I move on to the next one, or doesn't look like there's any
Well,
other
I wanna ask a
questions?
question about Glen Rose as well. So you're asking
Please.
for a state request of 24 million for Glen Rose?
We're starting the process.
Okay.
I would say that is project total.
Okay.
I think everybody around.
So you want to phase that in too?
Million's probably a little steep.
Maybe we should make that more clear. I think you should. I think so, I agree.
That is a number that I was told to put there.
We don't ask, the answer is no.
Yeah.
If you ask the answers, then.
But then we gave it the college try. I mean, come on.
Okay, Commissioner Keeney, I'll move on to the next kind of section we've got there. The first one, it deals with county fiscal health. We've had this on the agenda forever, and this deals with, in some ways, what I would call kind of the unfunded mandate portion, I guess, and just budget pressure that can be put on a county, given how many services that the county provides that are kind of state mandates. Principally, you have obviously a lot of courts, law enforcement, those types of things. But this is meant to be, as much as what's there in the narrative, but just a placeholder for when you're dealing with a bit difficult budget situation. I think we all acknowledge that. We've been reading the news articles and paying attention, and of course, what the legislature faces when you get there in January. But want to make sure that the county is protected and remains whole, and that some of these state mandates and state costs aren't passed down to county government. Some of that has happened. If you transition to the next item, there's with the BECA funding, there were reductions there that have a cost impact to the county. So I think you kind of get the gist of what those two are about. And then you can transition to the next page with the Clean Building Act, which is also another one policy that the legislature adopted that has pretty significant impacts on the county. I think from the Clean Building Act, you've probably been hearing from probably other local governments. I know school districts and even higher education have some of the same concerns with that policy and the cost to implement the changes that were required in law. It's not as though that the county hasn't made good faith efforts. It's just that there's a huge cost associated with doing those programs. The next two are somewhat related with dealing with the housing issues that have been presented to the county or in the community in general. I know has had to deal with them between the county and the city, so that we support the legislature dealing with those issues and continuing to prioritize them. And then another one that was and those are probably carryovers from previous sessions. Another one there, this increased funding for victim advocacy services. That's a new one dealing with the crime victim advocacy. Commissioner Walter, if you don't mind, I'd put you on the spot. This is something that you've had particular interest in, if you wanted to speak to it a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been reached out to by Lutheran Community Services Northwest, but they're, one of many groups statewide that are struggling because of the, I guess the state has had flat funding for many years, and then the federal VOCA funding has dropped. And so, unfortunately, they're seeing increases in, sexual assault victims needing support, legal aid, and the funding's just not there. So I don't know if you guys have looked into whether an increase in the state's contribution, even a small increase could make a huge difference for these groups to be able to provide those services to victims of crime. So anyway, we put that on there this year because we were reached out to by several different organizations that were saying that it was at a critical, very, very critical level of losing, being able to not serve those in need.
Okay. The next item, condo redevelopment. I guess the next two, Commissioner French, if you wouldn't mind, I'd put you on the spot. And then actually, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you could do the condo, the mobile home, and the TIF, and then I'll jump back to growth management. If you want to just do those three in a row, that'd be wonderful.
Sure, not a problem. So condo development regulations, we continue to try and push. Right now. It's 12 units, no higher than 2 stories. If we're going to try and get affordable housing, condo has got to be part of the mix. And there's no difference between somebody building a 300-unit apartment building or a 300-unit condo, other than you've got the opportunity for home ownership and family wealth building and stuff. So we continue to push for condo development regulations to replicate what they were back in 2010. Mobile home park, this is a project that we've been jointly engaged in terms of removing the mobile homes from the APC for Fairchild Air Force Base. We've made great progress. We're in partnerships with the City of Airway Heights, Habitat for Humanity. In fact, Habitat just opened another house today. We're relocating people from the mobile home park into affordable housing. Community Frameworks is also part of the partner, and Greenstone Development. So this is just a continuation of that effort that both the state and the county have a mutual interest in. And then TIF reform, you're probably going to see a lot of conversation coming out of Wasac with regard to TIFs. There are 2 TIFs that are used in the state. There's 3989, which is what the county does. In fact, we have, I think, 9 active TIFs that are all performing, and they are much easier to put into place. Kendall Yards, Liberty Lake, West Plains, there's Meadworks. They're a very effective tool, but other states or other counties in the state, and specifically cities, are using 39114. 39114 is very, very problematic, and you'll probably see Wasac coming out with a position paper on that, because it takes money away from counties to support development inside a city. And the city, the AWC, is probably going to be very much a player in this conversation. But just keep in mind, there are 2 TIF legislations. The one that we are going to be pushing is for 3989, which is basically just adding public safety as a allowable use, and giving taxing districts the option of either being in or out. And the third one is something that came to us from WashDOT, that if the state owns an asset inside a TIF boundary, that the state can take 3 cents of the 6.5 cents and use that for a project inside the boundary. For instance, the connection from 195 to I-90 is a $600 million idea. That money is not in the WashDOT budget, but if we could have the ability to fund it locally through that sales tax, we can fund that 600 million here locally through the TIF. And so as you look at trying to expand urban growth boundaries to accommodate our lack of housing, a lot of those concurrency issues are state driven. Well, this gives the state the ability to fund it without tapping into your general fund and without tapping into your transportation budget.
So is the public safety, that's the one I ran. Was I
Yes.
first or second on, I can't remember.
What's that?
Was I first or second on that public safety?
You were first.
Yeah.
Is that one that's 3989?
Yeah.
3980.
Okay, I was just gonna ask,
All it
ran
is-
that bill.
Yeah, all it is explain, but you know who you have to talk to, believe it or not, is the fire departments, the fire chiefs.
So
Because I was on their hit list last year. And
So, and we've had that conversation. I think they're going to come out and support it this year
okay.
for 2 reasons. One, the expanding the scope allows us to build fire stations and purchase equipment, which they otherwise have to tap into their levies. And so they'd rather not tap into their levies. The other thing is that they have the option to not be part of it. So if a fire district doesn't want to be part of the TIF, they can opt out of it, where before they didn't have that flexibility.
The fire chiefs and the fire boards.
Yes.
Anything that has TIF in it, they come out automatically. No, and I was sat down with them trying to explain, like, you're on the list, you're part of this, and you
Yeah.
can say no. So anyway.
So I talked to the leadership of
It's like
the fire
pressure.
commissioners.
So-
Yeah, and What I'm told is that they'll come out and support it with this language.
Where is this bill at? Is it in rules? Is it-
No, it didn't even get to committee. The
Oh, it
fire-
didn't even
the
get,
fire
okay,
chiefs.
so you're
They
going.
came
to
with their fire
copy
trucks
it.
and their uniforms and everything. And
Well,
took a fire hose to me and
So are you gonna refile?
I don't need to refile it. It's still on. the
Okay, it's
book.
filed.
It just
Okay, you
hasn't,
just-
it didn't do
okay.
anything. I can't remember.
yeah, and as you have the conversation, just stay aware of the fact that there's a big difference between 89 and 114. 114 is full of problems. So the concerns are very legitimate. 89, we've got 9 of them here in the county. We've got no financial exposure because they're all being driven by developers.
I think Representative Vols too, I'd add there, I've had conversations with some of the folks, port districts in particular, just preliminary. So if the bill were narrowed and shrunk, I guess, narrowed, shrunk, same thing, that might make things a little more palatable because as Commissioner French mentioned, it seems like the other statute's the bigger problem, not the one that Spokane utilizes the most.
There is a lot of confusion, including
Yes.
people. I think it goes to the finance committee and they get confused.
It does. And I think they
Okay.
hear the words tax increment financing and that causes
Yes.
any number of problems.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not a Democrat. That's.
Well, to that point, at the annual meeting for Wasac, Jim Frank with Greenstone and I did a whole presentation about 3989 and the TIF, which was well attended by counties across the state, including counties that are going to oppose 114. 114 is really problematic for counties, but 89 is revenue neutral.
I'll jump back one on the
Mike,
list of the Growth
just a second.
Management Act.
Mike, just
oh, sorry.
a second,
Yep.
Commissioner
No,
Wall.
I was
Sorry.
just gonna ask, so are some of these changes need to be made to the bill that Representative Volz has then?
I think
That he's already filed.
That's what I just.
We will have some amendments to it, but
Okay.
it's already in the hopper and stuff, so we've got language drafted, we'll get it
Just to add
to
to it,
Mike.
yeah.
Yeah,
Representative Vols, is it this one?
Which one is it?
1786,
yes.
adding public
Yes.
safety facilities.
That's it.
Yes, there it is. I just looked it up myself.
Okay.
Yeah, we could just.
It didn't move anywhere, if I remember it, like.
Yeah, no,
I think Commissioner Vols, we were trying to decide whether or not it made sense to just file a whole new clean version or amend down, just narrow what you already have. But I think at this point, it makes more sense to narrow it.
And I told everybody I would be open, we didn't meant anything, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
So the concerns we heard last year, we've addressed them, so it should be a lot cleaner process this time.
So I won't get fire hosed in the
No,
parking lot.
no.
Fire trucks from around the state.
But if you look like a fireman, well, never mind.
All
Well,
right.
that could still happen. You represent for other reasons, maybe, but not this bill.
Not this bad.
The jumping one Growth Management Act, we always have this on the agenda. As you know, the county deals with the Growth Management Act all the time. There are a number of issues around it. There are always a number of bills each session that deal with it. The concern for the county comes in is when policies are adopted, such as climate change elements and things like that, that there is a cost to the county to implement those. Sometimes the timelines are not always as reasonable. In fact, we ran a bill last year asking for some delays, and we're fortunate to get that bill passed. But those are the types of things that we look for in the Growth Management Act. So again, more of a placeholder there as much as anything else, just to keep you aware that that's something that I or one of the commissioners might approach you about when we see bills introduced or even bills that are live from last session that are making their way through the process. Moving to the last page, the first item on the last page, the waste to energy facility. We support the city's request for finding a way to comply with the Climate Commitment Act. I think all of you know about this issue. Don't need to rehash it, but it's something that the commissioners want added to their agenda. So it's something that we support. And then the last, moving down towards the bottom, Commissioner French, if you want to talk more about PFAS and the wildfire recovery, that'd be wonderful. And
Yeah,
then,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, so our request last year was for 18.5 million and you funded 7.5 million of it. Thank you very much. We have gotten, Department of Commerce has reduced their administrative costs dramatically and the county is paying for our site. So basically $7.5 million is going into filtration systems, not administrative costs. And we are at a point where we should start installing those systems probably in January. And hopefully by the spring, have all 259 or a significant part of that initial request installed. There is a need to do additional testing and other mitigations and stuff. So that's what the additional 10 million is for, to round out the initial request of 18 million. So we're just trying to, as I understood, the 7.5 million was the first of a couple initiatives, and we're just looking for the rest of the money to finish out the process.
So the challenge on that is the bucket was only 8 or 8.5 million statewide. We got 7.5 million out of an 8.5 million. So 10 might be a challenge, but it's on the books that's the final total cost. And it could come over the next 2 or 3 years. So
Whatever size the check is, we'll cash it.
yes, I know you will. How's that group going, by the way?
The task force is actually going very well, and I'm probably slightly biased because Frank Velasquez, the doctor, the health officer, and I co-chair that group. And it's going really well. And we're at a point to where we're starting to do navigation to reach out to all of the well owners on the West Plains and be able to categorize that. And then, as I indicated earlier, we'll start installing some of the POET systems here in January. We're going to test them out, find the best one, and then install the rest of them this spring. So hopefully by late spring, early summer, we'll have that money spent and ready for more money.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I would like to go back to the waste to energy, the exemption. So Mike, is anybody, or if there's maybe people online, is there anybody that has legislation ready to go to do a $25 million exemption?
I don't know, Representative, that a bill has been prepared. I just know that there was some study language in the budget last year. And I believe it wasn't Senator Holy had a bill.
We got it. We moved the bill out of Ways and Means and actually out of rules, but I think something else is coming. I can't remember.
Is something coming from the
Maybe,
Senate?
I think they're talking with Senator Holy again, and I believe maybe Representative Hill on the House side, but I'm not sure.
It looks like Tim's nodding yes.
Representative Hill has dove into the issue, and I've seen correspondence exchange, and it's basically not a dollar amount. It's easing the timeline for allowances for the emissions.
Thank you.
I can say that the budget line items came out today, and revenues from the CCA are exceeding the anticipated budgeted amount again by a large number, 346 million. The allowances went to $70. Fitzgibbons and I ran a bill last session and capped it at 80. And so expecting that we'll be at the cap. It started at 63 in the first auction, 70 this one, and so.
And that's $80 per credit.
Mm-hmm. And so the revenue just continues to roll in on the cap and trade, exceeding the revenue forecasts consistently since the policy was taken in. So I would hope that, the budget, even though there's a general shortfall, the cap and trade money is budgeted in certain ways. And I would hope that we could make exemptions. I know that Representative Rammel and I are running a bill that will allow certain exemptions from allowances for utilities that are implementing their renewable energy requirements and then don't have the generation capacity when the renewables are not there and are asking for relief from allowances. on the firming and shaping power that they use. So it's something that I think we can have the conversation hopefully and appreciate any consideration on those line items as the powerful chair of the Appropriations Committee sees fit.
Okay, Commissioner French, if you want to talk about wildfire, and then Jeff, if you wanted to take the last two, that'd be great.
You know, we in 2023, we suffered the Gray and Oregon fires and had the loss of almost 300 homes. You know, the insurance company has come in to rebuild some of those homes, but not all of the homes were either fully insured or insured at all. So we continue to try and rebuild those homes and restabilize both Medical Lake and the Elk area. And so this is a continuation of that effort to not only rebuild communities, but also to incorporate affordable housing for a good section of that community. So that's part of the continuing effort there. And then when you talk about the last two, are you talking about the helicopter or the broadband?
Oh, I was going to have Jeff cover those last two, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So the helicopters one the sheriff requested on, there are 4 counties around the state that have helicopters and they cover the entire state when there's an emergency. They also pay the bills for the other 35 counties that are part of those 4 counties. So being that they are regional, being usually like our helicopter was over in the Chelan area when that father brutally killed his daughters earlier in the year. You know, so we're making it all the way to the Cascades, covering everything. We all know how big Eastern Washington is. So this is a request that I believe the WASPEC Association is pushing hard to have more a state funding source for what really is in the 4 counties view, responding on behalf of the entire state.
There's already a bill on this, right?
There was a bill last session, didn't make it all the way through. I know they're hopeful, talking with the sheriff a couple weeks ago, to get it further this year. That this is their top priority. I don't know why it didn't make it all the way. It could have been budget issues.
I can't remember when you're doing anything different.
And then the broadband one, I don't have a lot of detail on that. Commissioner CUNY, do you know more? You sit on that one?
I sit on it. It's really trying to have the state advisory council to help because as we're looking at developing these public benefit broadbands, as we are doing here in Spokane County with Broadlink, really WASAC has done kind of a meeting group amongst the counties. And I think it would be really beneficial for the state to have a state council. So that way it's really at that level that we all can look at it collectively as we put out the BEAD funds. And Spokane County Broadlink was very fortunate in that, you know, we potentially could be getting 90 million of BEAD funding to get broadband across our region. So we're super excited, but I think having a state advisory council, you know, for that public benefit, so everybody is really working together and understands it from a state perspective is beneficial.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So, I mean, that we've run through the list. If you have any questions, please. And then I always like to leave a little bit of time here at the end. Legislators, if you have, you know, anything that wasn't on the agenda, some stuff that you'd like to bring to our attention, appreciate Representative Ormsby mentioning the waste to energy bill. It's always good to hear about those types of things. You all are having conversations that internally that some of us aren't having, especially you just finished with committee days. So if you have anything else you wanted to offer, that'd be great. Appreciate your time. So Commissioner Keene, I'll just leave it to you, I guess, at that point to address in the room, because I can't see people raising hands and things like that. So.
Thank you. About 20 years ago, Commissioner Ross Kelly was concerned about the storage, chemical storage tanks, probably from about Freya to Havana, that they could be leaking, but he was told it wasn't a county issue. So was that Is that still something we should be looking at from some level?
I think it's an ecology issue, but you're right. I do remember him involved in that and stuff. So I think we got to do some homework. So I don't know whether they mitigated that as part of the North-South Corridor project, because I know that there was a oil
Brownfield.
yeah, brownfield project that ended up getting addressed and stuff, but I can check into that, find out for you. Yeah. So. And another project that we've got going that you might be interested in from a state standpoint, we've been working with Joe Wynn over at Commerce on this. We have, the county is leading the state in an effort to develop a hydrogen fuel. And we have a hydrogen fuel manufacturing facility that's going up on the West Plains that it's got zero waste out of the facility, but it takes basically wheat chaff, uses its raw material, produces hydrogen. Hydrogen then goes back into both the ag community and all of our transportation systems. I also sit on FMCIB, it'll go into the trucking industry as a clean energy to replace diesel fuel and not end up with combines that have big batteries on them, because you can operate off of hydrogen and stuff. So that project is in for permitting and is a state interest. So I thought I'd just share that with you.
Can I ask, and I'll throw this out to all of the legislators, if anybody has any insight on sort of what the future is for the Becca legislation? You know, Mike referenced the cut in funding last year, which according to our juvenile director was kind of a surprise that kind of came late in session. Is there discussion around funding, or is there discussion around also changing up the Becca legislation in what is required of school districts and county? Just kind of anything Becca related. Does anybody have any insight to that?
Might be a DCYF thing with it.
I haven't heard, I actually heard it wasn't being followed. It wasn't being implemented by our school districts and that, Representative Ormsby would have a little bit more information about the cut, but I would imagine, anyway, that was the only thing that I've heard about it, is that it wasn't being enforced by the school districts, that they weren't, because some of the legislation that we passed as far as the students, I don't know if it's the students' right or whatever, but they can sign themselves out of school. So that kind of, wipes that out as far as, so I think legislation that was passed last year and the year before kind of supersedes the Becca bill, so that might be why the funding was cut. I don't know what, Representative Ormsby might have some insight on that.
Okay, I'm just saying, yeah, because I know some of our staff are saying there's still requirements on the books of things that they're required to follow through with, but which was always, I believe, for the most part, adequately funded prior to the cut. And so it's just, are the requirements going to stay in place? Are there concepts to amend the legal requirements around Becca?
So anecdotally, the superintendent of public instruction is saying that the first thing school districts do, instead of having an attendance contract or a community board, I forget the exact term, the first and only thing the school district will do will be to submit a petition to Superior Court, and then it plays out however. And this is actually not intended to target counties, it's intended to target school districts to pursue attendance contracts and these community boards for interaction with the student that is truant, and not have it just be the juvenile court system.
Representative Ormsby, do you see that there will be some more funding that's dedicated to that effort?
I don't see an increase in funding anywhere, Commissioner. Given the circumstances, and I really don't want to be flip about it. I just,
No, I just mean like, I don't see what the incentive, if that's the incentive. I guess, I know that some school districts use the community board model and probably many do not, and they maybe should, right? To try and resolve the issues of why
Yeah.
the student's not in school first before going to the court system.
that is the intent.
But how, yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm not sure what the incentive is for school districts to do that. With this change, is there a carrot? Or is it, I mean, I understand maybe getting rid of the stick, but what's the carrot? I don't know. I'm just posing the
Yeah,
philosophical
they
question.
should just be doing their job, actually, which is resolving truancy issues of students that's spelled out in statute, and they should be utilizing attendance contracts and the community boards before, as a last resort, before filing the truancy petition.
Representative Dye, were you gonna speak something?
Yeah, you'd mentioned about the clean buildings law. And we were successful in passing House Bill 1715, which will do a comprehensive audit of the state portfolio of buildings to give the budgeters a chance to, plan for the anticipated increase. It really came down to the fact that we started seeing an operating budget, every state university requesting funding for their energy audits. And then the follow-on results of the audit for staggering numbers. WSU was $1.5 billion to comply with this clean buildings law. And so that became, and then this year UW had in their request $194 million for the first tranche of projects that they wanted to do on their campus. And so there's, I think a reality check that if you're going to accomplish the objectives of the policy for clean buildings, we're going to have to plan for a 30-year upgrade or something like that. I don't know what it looks like, but is it, what is the cost benefit and what are the trade-offs for when you look at a university like WSU, what kind of programming could they offer for a 1.5 billion versus just updating their HVAC systems that recently converted from coal to natural gas, which would be, the largest of the amounts of carbon reductions that you could get, and they'd already completed that. And so my hope is that having information will inform policies going forward to make in-course corrections, to do wise choices.
Did you say 1.5 billion just at WSU?
Yes.
When I was on the Building Code Council, we had gotten a report that Western Washington University did an analysis, and it was 600 million, and that's 3 years ago. So it's probably closing 1 billion now.
Right, and if you have a steam plant, and of course, we're looking at the steam plant at the campus for the Capitol campus, and I'm sure that other universities have district energy similarly. And so how can we prudently make decisions on the bill so that it's more tailored?
I just wanted to say we've got a lot of needs, a lot of pressure points at the county. I did want to say a few thank yous to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner French said for what we were able to get last year, the PFAS funding, Crisis Stabilization Center. I know some dollars came through for Plants Ferry as well. So we do really appreciate all of those things from last session. If you see it still on the agenda, it's because we want to go further. We want to continue to make progress on that. So we hope to work with you all on that. And on the waste to energy piece, we'll be coordinating very closely with the city. I think everybody knows that we send, I think, about half of our county garbage to the waste to energy plant. So we're a huge customer of that facility, and we want to see it remain viable. So we're hopeful we can work hand in hand to find a solution there, at least a delay, to allow more technologies to be explored as to how compliance could potentially work. So appreciate the bipartisan support on that as well.
So thanks for weighing in on that. I mean, I think this is a time where regionally we can say ratepayers are going to take a hit. It's going to be trucked, so that actually would have more carbon impact, and it'll go to a poor community. And so it's been nice to see everybody on the same page. And I'll throw some gratitude back. Appreciate all the support of Maddie's Place. I will let you know that I'm going to be introducing a bill, and we've seen some movement on the federal level, which is great. But to have us offer a state plan amendment as we continue to work with the HCA to get them on a sustainable funding model. Whether that bill will pass or not, I don't know. State plan amendments at this point are tricky, but that's the purpose on that one. And then just a couple other things. I'm working on an update of the pavement to people bill to really work on what we've seen, particularly in our urban core, some incentives to build more workforce housing and kind of the middle level, amongst a number of other things. But those are two I wanted to mention particularly.
Can I follow up on that? Senator, I know there was a condo regulation bill that did pass last year, made some baby steps in the right direction. Do you foresee another push on that being likely policy-wise this year on the condo piece? Looks like you're muted.
Mary did that, no.
Me now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. I would say I don't know. I'm happy to chat about that, and I think I supported Senator Padden's work, and would be happy to work on that because I think it makes a lot of sense. We all know that condos turn into equity for folks to buy other homes or to start businesses, etc. But I haven't heard anything specifically. I think I'm checking in with the realtors next week or something like that. But if you hear something first, please let me know, because that's sometimes how it works. Or if another member hears about it, let me know.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else want to say what their priorities are?
Surviving.
Good place to start.
Yes.
That's over.
So I will circle back on the TIF conversation with regard to 3989. One of the big reasons why we use it here is that it basically pays for all of the elements that other communities are charging impact fees for. Lieutenant Governor Heck told me that in Snohomish County, impact fees are $85,000 on a single family home. That's before you pull a permit. We can cover all of that through the TIFs and make affordable housing much more achievable by that model than trying to do, the impact fees that other parts of the state are using. So it's part of the Achieving Affordable Housing initiative.
I don't see anyone else. And we're almost at time because I know people have to get down to the GSI legislative forum. So we just want to thank you all very much for, continuing to meet with us every year to talk about our agenda. It's so important, and we will keep staying in touch as we work forward to this legislative session. So thank you all very much for taking the time to be here today. And all of you in person.